Brigands and goblins lay siege to the great smeals of Tuckborough. Provisions are running low, and time is running short.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of Skirmish Timeline, where I'm running in through each of the skirmishes in the order that I fit in the chronology. Now, first off, why do I have the skirmish panel up here? And that is to show that I am currently at encounters completed 2,998 and at skirmishes completed 1,999. So the secondary intent of this episode is to complete my 2,000th skirmish and my 3,000th encounter. Now I'll be running this one at Tier 3. Now, I don't usually run things at Tier 3 simply because I think that they tend to add not only a little bit more challenge, but also a little bit more time, and sometimes it gets a little bit tedious. So therefore, I don't normally think it too much worth it going into a Tier 3. But it's nice for an occasional situation. But for example, doing it every time on a video, well, the last thing you want to do is make videos take longer. So therefore, I even more rarely do it on videos. Alright, there's the crawler. Unfortunately, killing one means the other one is now faster. Since the reason why they're so slow was because they were stuck to each other. And unfortunately, the filth made me just too slow on that one. Now it gets even worse when you've got here, when you've got some really slow going due to a shepherd of filth. Alright, let's get this guy dead. Is there anyone else left? Oh yes, that spear. Alright, well, I've got the muck off of me now, so I think that's the last one. Is it? No, it's not the last. Oh, this warrior missed the whole thing. Too bad for you, warrior. Alright. Now, why is Tuckborough last? I mean, it's the first one that you get, right? You get this at the very beginning. You're level 20. It's set in the Shire. You get 2 free skirmishes at the start. Tuckborough and Gondman was the first one I had. So why is Tuckborough at the other end of the scale for time-wise? Well, first off, let's look at the timing internal to this skirmish. At the very beginning, he says it's just before harvest. So that would make it somewhere in September or October. Alright, you're saying? Well, that's right when you're questing in the Shire. Not quite. When you're questing in the Shire, the brigands are around and starting to show their noses, but they've certainly not taken over to such an extent that they've taken over, that they're besieging Tuckborough, that the houses look like a wreck, that they haven't been taken care of in a year or anything like that. Everything looks devastated. So it looks like not. Let's see if I can get this battle started without fighting the shepherd until the end, because that's the good way of handling the shepherd, if possible, though your soldier doesn't cooperate necessarily. And that is to save the shepherd as as late as possible, if possible. Oh, they're pounding. I'm sure my soldier is hitting the shepherd now. Now, let's see if I get this timed right. Okay, I got 2 of them now. You rarely get a perfect scenario with the shepherd, getting all 3 down. But I suppose if you're a class that can easily, has a wider range AoE than I do. Alright, good. Oh, that was the last one. Yeah, okay, yeah, he did die when he started summoning the last one. Yes, those elites take a little... Well, actually, that's only a signature. Tier 3 signatures can take a little while to bring down. That's the reason why I don't do tier 3s all that often. Now, in case you want to know, that in a tier 2, the enemies are about 22% more powerful than a tier 1. While in a tier 3, they're 66% more powerful than they are in a tier 1. There's a little bit of a jump there. So I've suggested if you do tier 3s that you have a little time on your hand. Alright, the other thing about tier 3s though is that they do give you 70% higher rewards. Now the panel does not say 70%. I forgot the exact number given on the panel, but the panel tends to be wrong when it comes to reward bonuses. You select your item, they give you panel, the panel tells you some percentage to it, and except with duos, it seems to always... Singles and duos, it tends to be right. For larger sizes and for the advanced tiers, it tends to be too low. Fortunately, it's giving you one that's too low, so it's not like it's telling you you're going to get this much and then you get a lot less or anything like that. But you get few. But it probably says something like 33% more or 50% more, and you're actually getting 70% more. Alright, here we go. Now the archer. Alright. Don't like the wound blade because the wound blade is the only item that I cannot cure with my first aid. Because first aid requires a weapon. Don't ask me why first aid requires a weapon. Okay, it's obviously one of those game balance items. Because game balance logic and real world logic very rarely go together. That should give us some nice nasty bleeds. Now I'm doing this right now in recklessness stance. Ooh, my soldier is going down. Can I do it? Yes! Ah! Missed it. Well, one of the challenges is try to get through without the soldier dying. There is no real penalty for the soldier going down, but it's like the fires on Defense of the Prancing Pony, for example. There's no requirement to do so. There's no mark penalty if a couple of fires get to the pony, but it's one of the internal additional challenges is to try to do it without anything going wrong. In this case, I like to try to go through without my soldier getting defeated. But as you can see, it doesn't always happen. But when they're hitting harder like that, and I am doing this in recklessness stance. Now trying to do it in taking stance, of course, would make everything take longer. Oh, I didn't see that guy. Of course, not seeing some of the opponents doesn't help my survivability. Alright. There we go. Everything fine, Flax? Good. Now, where is my speed? Now I'm running this with an archer, which is my usual soldier that I run with. And I like archers because they stay behind you. And they tend to be single targeted. Usually, at least in tier 1s and tier 2s, they are reasonably resilient. So it looks like in tier 3, if you're not too careful, they can go down with what we've been seeing there. But in tier 1s and tier 2s, they are reasonably resilient. Alright, here is counter 2,999. Now, actually, I was a little bit surprised when I saw that I was close to 3,000 encounters when I was getting to close to 2,000 skirmishes. So near the end, while I was doing the last few skirmishes to 3,000, on the road to 3,000, I did skip a few encounters just so that I can finish this part on a nice milestone. But not too many of them. I was close enough so I didn't have to skip too many of them. You saw when I was doing the other timeline series, I was doing all the encounters, so I was reasonably close there already. Alright, there we go, and that should give me 2,999 encounters. Alright, still a lot of pain. Now I suspect I wouldn't have any trouble keeping the mobs off of Flax, and I won't have the trouble of my morale going down like it is if I were in Determination stance. Determination stance is the stance that I used to always use back when I was back before Helm's Deep was released. Now let me get this guy out here. Last thing I want is a Zealot of Pain giving buffs to his friends. So let's get friends out of the fight. And then get Black, of course. So I'm sure that my heals aren't quite as good when I am in this stance as when I am in Determination. But that is the balance you want, and besides, trying to keep alive is a little bit of a challenge and adding into there, and that certainly doesn't hurt. It also means that I was saying before that sometimes it feels like tier 3 is more feel like sometimes it adds more tedium rather than more challenge to it. So running it in recklessness helps to counter out that. And hopefully we'll make a little bit of a shorter video. Alright, here Okay, we're gonna have a bear for my 3000th encounter. Now, I do have a little bit of a history with that bear. That's because in my original blog that I did, when I first started doing skirmishes for blogs and the like, I remember I had this picture of me on my warden, I don't remember whether it was this warden or my actually I think it was this warden, very early on though, where I was facing that bear and I must have been getting hurt pretty badly because it shows me, oh that's right, I remember I came to the bear and I was in a position where it was hard to see the bear. This is of course before you had the red dots up there, so I wasn't sure where the bear was, and then the bear crested the hill. And when the bear crested the hill, I was suddenly, oh whoa! And it shows me with this jumping back in surprise when I have the bear there. I must have been hitting Flax's target all the way through. I did not lose aggro a single time. Back then, though, I had the line that I was the only warden that could turn a tier 1 skirmish into a nail biter. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. Looks like I need a tier 3 to make it a nail biter. So it's good that I have improved a little bit since I've done that first video. Actually, that wasn't a video, that was a part 1 of my old blog. That was back with the old blogs from, there used to be blogs here on Lotro, with the old community site where that had to be dismantled. Alright. Now I don't necessarily think that the bear's the toughest one you face. He's the hardest hitting. But you also have that old root. Old root can be a little pain if you don't know how to take care of poisons. Now, fortunately, these days, that's no problem with a warden with first aid, or with a burglar, or with anyone with a pot, obviously. Alright, there you go. Encounters completed. 3,000. So that's one of my goals. Alright, my goals are to show the last one in the timeline. Which, oh yes, I still haven't talked completely about the timeline. Why is it that I am doing this as the last one? As I said, I think that this is not the September we're requesting in there, but a year later. And this would be, and being a year later fits more into the lore. Because there you have, a year later, you do have brigands all over the place. Where if this is a year later, this would be a month before the Battle of Bywater, where when the brigands hold complete sway, and there are very, very few who resist them, and when the notable few that do resist them are the Tooks. And Tookland is under a bit of a siege, even during the time of the Battle of Bywater, though here they're showing it as the Great Schmeals being under siege. So at the time of the Battle of Bywater, it's probably more accurate to say all of Tookland is controlled by the Tooks. So this pretty much allows the Tooks to come out and hold the lands. because during the time of the Battle of Bywater, they said that no one gets in and out of Tookland. And of course, Pippin there goes to show that, well, he's getting in no matter what you say. But he is Paladin's son, so therefore he has a bit more incentive to get in and out. And let's face it, after what Pippin had been through, considering that he was at the Black Gate, the Battle of the Black Gate and all that stuff, let's face it, trying to get into Tookland after standing at the gates of Mordor during one of the most well, let's see how you would bluff battles, I guess you could say, because it was the battle at the Black Gate was definitely a holding action, meaning they were there for one purpose only, and that was to, or I guess a delaying action. And diversionary action. I think a diversionary action might probably be a better word for what it was. Just to divert everybody there to say, hello, we're here, we're going to try to take over. Here, attack us. Don't look inside and look at those two hobbits trying to climb a volcano. No, you want to attack us. That type of situation. But anyway, so therefore this is the only one of the skirmishes that's set after the destruction of the ring. Hope that's not a spoiler for anyone. Ah, okay, that's 2 down. That's the problem, is if I were in... Oh, that was the last one. If I were in tanking stance, I think I would have been able to get the hate a little bit more easily and keep Flax alive. Now comes for the infamous courtyard. This is where things get dicey. I certainly don't want to celebrate my 3,000th skirmish by pulling in the entire courtyard. That would be for another video, one where it's designed to be for a challenge video or something like that. I should at some point do a series of challenge videos where I do things the ridiculous times. Since obviously here with the timeline one, and since this is supposed to be my 3,000th video, I wanted obviously to end successfully. And not 3,000th video, 3,000 successful skirmish. I want to end successfully. So I am not going to go and do something silly that could get me overwhelmed, such as pulling the entire courtyard in a tier 3 skirmish. Well, that should... Oh, you're kidding me. Alright, okay, assailment stance. Okay, out of assailment stance. Oh. Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Oh, that is weird. I guess the mob I attacked was linked to the far lieutenant and not to the near lieutenant. I was trying to pull the near lieutenant and not the far lieutenant, but obviously I did the exact opposite. And that's the active kegmast. Now this is going to be the tough bit then. Alright, assailment. Is doing this. This is... I was talking about doing things I didn't want to do, and this is obviously the ultimate case of that. Is getting the far lieutenant right on top of the near lieutenant. forcing me into assailment stance, which I've never really done assailment stance all that well. Alright, but now at least I can go in without fear of pulling the other lieutenant. They're both Dowerhand Kegmasters, which didn't make things easier in any case. Alright, just waiting for the rest of my morale to regenerate. Alright, I guess that's enough. I'm a warden after all. Even if my best survival skills are all on the other line. Now before Helm's Deep I never ran this mode. Get him, get it! Yes! Well, I was hoping to at least interrupt the casting, but killing him instead will certainly do for me. Now, I don't know how many relics I've been getting, as I just saw I got a relic there. I got only 2 relics. Which actually isn't, which would be an excellent return for a tier 1, but I thought in a tier 3 I might have gotten 1 or 2 extra than that. That seems to be about what I often get in tier 2s. I just don't feel like I get a significant better payout, at least in relics, in tier 3s that I had in tier 2, that I get in tier 2s. Medallions seem to be, I feel that there's a better sweet spot. Obviously you get more medallions in tier 3s, but I don't think, but it doesn't feel like it's significantly more than in tier 2s, so rewards for it, I tend to find that tier 2 just feels better to me. But it certainly keeps me on my toes more on the tier 3s. So obviously if a little bit more challenge in being on the toes is what you're looking for, then tier 3 will certainly be the way to go. Just remember, it will take a little longer, and this should be the, yeah, that's the, getting by those double lieutenants without pulling the second one was the last real challenge of this run, it looks like. Because this guy is easy, of course, because he is only a signature. Now, personally, I think that this particular boss should either have been made an elite, or he calls 1 lieutenant in solo mode, because the boss fight is just too easy. Now, I think it would be best if he called 1 lieutenant. I think would have been the better of those 2 options. So that halfway point, he could call 1 lieutenant. So it'd be more like the boss fight. Right. So it could be more like the boss fight that you get in the main run. Alright, so overall, I kept all the hobbits alive. Flax, unfortunately, went retreating into a corner twice. That is skirmishes completed, 2,000. Alright, mission accomplished. I explained why I think this is the last, or at least is, or tried to. I said I feel that this is a month before the Battle of Bywater. About a month, because the Battle of Bywater is definitely after harvest, and this is noted at the beginning to be before harvest. Alright. And I got 3 more relics, it looks like, in the final treasure chest, so that's a nice payoff. Or at least I... problem is seeing what's in the chest. Okay, oh yeah, there it is. If you wanted to show it in the chat screen, I know I can see it here, 1, 2, 3 relics right there, since the fused ones are the ones you get in the chest, yes. So bounty plus 3 relics, no, nothing else in there. It'd been nice if I had a Starlight Crystal pop up as a final reward or anything like that, but that's not to be. But that was number 3000. So therefore, that ends this particular series for the Skirmish timeline. But that does not mean that's going to be my last video or anything like this, because later today I'll be starting a new series. Pineleaf plays the Runekeeper, and this Sunday we will resume with our second season for Skirmisher of Middle-earth, where I will start on the Moria skirmishes. Until then, this is Pineleaf Needles. May your shield protect you, and your spear never break.